do it.
Eggs, a typically unremarkable grocery list staple for most Americans, became a point of financial stress and confusion over the course of a single year. Between January 2022 and January 2023, the average price consumers were paying for a carton of eggs shot up by 150%, hitting an all-time high of $4.82 a dozen.
Have another egg.
No, no, no.
Egg companies sold their eggs to grocery.
Okay. I'm going to move some stuff out of the way so that you guys can see what's going on over here. I'm going to put this over here. Can I get this moved, please? No, not that. Bear with me now. Bear with me now. I want to make sure you guys see the... All right. Check this out. I don't eat eggs. This didn't affect me. Okay? I'm going to start off by that. I don't eat animal flesh. I'm not vegan. I'm vegetarian. I eat dairy. I eat cheese, drink milk. I don't really drink milk. I don't like it, but I'll have milk and things. But I don't eat eggs. And I don't eat chicken, fish, steak, hamburger, pork of any kind. And I haven't for a very long time. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. I don't give a fuck what you eat. Okay? You eat whatever you eat. I'm going to eat whatever I eat. I'm never going to push vegetarianism on you. Like, you live your life, I'll live my life. That's it. Now, why do I not eat that stuff? They're for spiritual reasons. Yeah, this part of my faith. It's very personal. You ever want to know about it, hit me up. I'll tell you, but I'm not going to be one of those irritating people that forces shit down your throat. Okay? Now, the reason I'm telling you that is because we have a tendency in this country to only worry about things that affect us, right? It's only a problem if it affects me. Like, raising gas prices affected me. Raising egg prices and the price of food increasing really didn't affect me for two reasons. I don't buy the most expensive things that are out there. And if I'm honest about it, I make a really nice living and I can afford groceries even if they double in price. Now, I don't want to pay more, but I can afford it. All right. So then, but I'm not bragging about that. I'm still concerned about inflation. Why? Because I have compassion and I care about other people than myself. Okay. I care that even though I don't eat eggs, I care that if egg prices double or triple, that affects people, especially people in lower income brackets, because they can't afford it and they need it to survive. This is what compassion is, okay? This is what actually why I know I sometimes talk about myself as a socialist, because it's more palatable when we say that compared to what my head really is like an anarcho-communist. But like, even though things don't affect me directly, I care about other people and I want the best for other people, just because I can have health care and I can have nicer things in my life because I'm lucky enough and skilled enough to have a job that pays me the money to be able to do that. Doesn't mean that I don't want those for other people that haven't found themselves to be in my very fortunate position, right? Like, I want you to have everyone to have access to good, healthy food. I want everyone to have access to affordable health care. I want everyone to have access to like free college and education and clean water, safe streets. That's what I want for people, right? Because it's the best for everybody. I want people to thrive and be happy. This is what it is to be compassionate, as opposed to, oh, how does it just affect me? Right? There's a huge fucking difference. So if you can be like-minded in that, I want you to watch this from that standpoint, right? Maybe not just how it affected me, but how does it affect people less, I guess, fortunate than me? I hate that term.
stores at unparalleled prices, peaking from about $1.20 a dozen to $5.20 a dozen within 12 months. As a result, grocery stores were forced to hike up their egg prices to turn a profit. To make matters even more confusing, egg prices for retailers started to plummet at the start of 2023, dropping by at least $2.90 a dozen out of nowhere. To explain the dramatic swing in wholesale prices, big egg companies like Cal-Maine Foods pointed their fingers at two factors: a rampant flu that plagued their chickens, and, you guessed it, inflation. These companies want consumers to believe that the ridiculous sticker prices we saw in 2022 and early 2023 were necessary to make up for sick hens and rising feed costs. But here's where the numbers don't add up. Dominant egg producers not only made up for lower supply and increased costs.
As you hear this, and what she's about to tell you is true facts. It's not like partisan bullshit. It's true facts. You can take the same thing that she's about to explain to you and go down the rabbit hole research, like real research, not I saw it on some fucking website, all right? I mean, actual go and see like this, like the profits posted by the company that you're looking at, what their profit was, because they're all public companies and they have to post that stuff. What were the profits during this time, and how are they in relationship to where inflation was? That's the truth. That's the truth. The record profits between egg companies, the gasoline, the manufacturers like Mobil, and all those companies, healthcare. As your prices go up, is the price of it going up in relationship to inflation. And what are the profit margins? Have the profit margins gone up? Because if you think about it, honestly, if it's say eggs were $1 a dozen and inflation went up 15%, that would be 15% would be 15 cents on a dollar's worth a dozen of eggs. Now, there could be other, so it should only go up by the same, all things should only go up by the same percentage. Costs about 15%. Now, let's say that isn't quite true and that my math is a little skewed and there's other factors that I'm not taking into consideration. Okay, let's double it. Let's say that it's the cost to manufacture affects the price triple inflation, triple the rate of inflation. So that's 45 cents. Now, I'm not saying that eggs should then cost $1.45, although they could, but the margin should reflect those numbers that I'm talking about. I think you get what I'm saying. Let's see what she says about it.
They profited off them big time. Just look at Cal-Maine Foods' gross profit margin. Gross profit margin measures how much money a company earned after accounting for production costs. Cal-Maine Foods more than quadrupled its gross profit margin after raising the price of its eggs. If Cal-Maine fairly raised prices to offset inflation and the avian flu, its gross profit margin would stay about the same. So, to figure out what's really going on with egg prices, we talked to one of the leading experts on food monopolies.
I'm Angela Huffman. I'm the co-founder of Farm Action. Farm Action is a farmer-led nonprofit taking on corporate consolidation in the food system. Contrary to the narrative of these industry leaders, these price increases are not due to an act of God. It's just plain profiteering.
So what's the true story behind those sky-high egg prices? And who's to blame? And what can we do to make sure this never happens again? I'm June, and this is More Perfect Union. Now let's get cracking.
You know what? Maybe I will have some eggs. Toast?
Since Cal-Maine Foods is the largest egg producer and distributor in the US, we're going to keep our focus there. Cal-Maine's CEO, Sherman Miller, recently celebrated his company's record sales and net income for the second quarter of fiscal 2023. The company made over $300 million in the second half of 2022, while the price of eggs was skyrocketing. Millions of Americans were paying record prices for eggs, while Cal-Maine got rich. So of course they needed a defense for raising prices. And this brings us to our first claim, the bird flu. In the company's December earnings report, Cal-Maine's CEO attributed the company's record average selling prices for conventional eggs to a reduced supply related to the outbreak in the US of highly pathogenic avian influenza. It's true that last year, avian flu outbreaks resulted in the loss of 43 million egg-laying hens. But here's the catch. In the same breath, CEO Sherman Miller says there have been no positive tests for this bird flu at any of Cal-Maine Foods' owned or contracted production facilities as of December 28, 2022.
Okay, let's just look at that. What did they say? One of the they lied, right? It's weird that corporations lied. There have been no positive tests for this bird flu at any Cal-Maine Foods owned or contracted production facilities as of December 28th, 2022. Why did they say that? Now, we don't even know if that's true. But the reason they came out and said that, I'm going to tell you right now, is they knew people wouldn't fucking buy the eggs. So they're in a catch-22 with their lies. But we're so busy and we believe so much disinformation, we don't go back and see the contradiction in what they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Absolutely fucking phenomenal to me.
Not a single Cal-Maine hen died from bird flu. 0. Now, obviously, other egg producers were impacted by the bird flu. So one might reason that with supply down nationwide, grocery chains would understandably run to Cal-Maine to secure their egg stock for upcoming months and would be willing to pay a pretty penny to do so. And Cal-Maine Foods, being the massive corporation that it is, one that controls 20% of the egg market, would of course welcome and encourage all of those pretty pennies happily.
They control 20% of the domestic egg market. 20%. That's fucking huge. That's a monopoly. You don't have to have it be more than 50% for something to be a monopoly. You just have to be the lion's share of the pie. And 20% of a market share in a country like the United States, and it might be internationally, I don't know, is humongous.
Now, that would all make sense if the highly pathogenic avian influenza did in fact reduce supply in the way CEOs like Sherman Miller described. But once we looked into it, we realized that the numbers aren't as black and white as they appear.
The egg industry experienced no substantial decline in egg production in the last quarter of 2022 compared to 2021.
The number of egg-laying flocks, on average, only dropped 6 to 8% from the year prior, according to the USDA.
In addition to that, that number was even further blunted by record high lay rates, meaning the existing egg-laying hens laid even more eggs than the year before.
As it turns out, the hit to egg supply wasn't as dramatic as companies like Cal-Maine want you to believe. The bird flu outbreak for sure doesn't account for the 150.5% increase in the net average price for a dozen of Cal-Maine's conventional eggs from one year to the next. Now, back to that other excuse corporations love to deploy when justifying price hikes: inflation. Although we might disagree on the factors causing inflation, we can all agree that it's happening. Costs are up across the board,
Absolutely.
and the egg industry is not exempt.
Not denying
However,
inflation at all.
according to its own presentation to investors, Cal-Maine's total farm production and feed costs in 2022 were just 22% higher than they were in 2021. Remember, the price you paid for eggs went up 150% in this time, and Cal-Maine's profit margins quadrupled. So while a price increase is expected to keep up with rising production costs, no narrative that the egg industry pushed seems to explain why dominant egg producers more than quadrupled their wholesale prices.
There's just no other supply chain excuse that would justify these increase in egg prices. The fact that Cal-Maine is both raising its price.
Now, you guys, look, I could see, I'm not a fan of capitalism. You know that. But I could see it if we were talking about something that is more of a luxury item, okay? Let's say we're talking brand new cars or brand new televisions. You know, generally most people don't need that. Like you could buy a used car. Your TV is probably pretty good. I was thinking about replacing the TV I have here in my room because it's not 4K, but it's actually a really good TV. It's high def, but it's not 4K. I have fucking TVs in other parts of the house that are just amazing televisions. I don't know why I kind of wanted to have a 4K TV in my room. I still might get one because I'm impulsive and I do that just like everybody else. But, that's like a luxury item. It's not a need. Food is a fucking need, right? So people need food to live. They need protein, they need carbohydrates, we need fruits and vegetables and clean water. Like, so to prey upon the basic human needs of our citizens with these skyrocketing profit margins that are the term I'm looking for is they're imaginary, right? They're made up. Like the fact that they do this to me is absolutely criminal in my opinion. It's fucking criminal. But we let them do it because we believe in the old free market system. It ain't fucking free market system, right? It's rigged. You're learning right now. It's fucking rigged.
And grossly increasing its profit margins at the same time without any reasonable business justification for that suggests that it's foul play.
If a bird flu epidemic and inflation can't fully explain why egg prices soared over the last year, then what can? One clue is in the suspicious lack of price competition within the egg industry at large. Back in August, the USDA expected companies to start purchasing more chicks and increasing production while feed costs were moderating and egg prices were soaring.
So, in a competitive and normally functioning market, we would expect that one of these companies would lower their prices so that they could swoop in and take that market share.
You'd expect competition to start driving prices down, but for some strange reason, production didn't increase. Prices kept rising.
There seems to be a collusive scheme among these industry leaders to turn inflationary conditions and an avian flu into an excuse to gouge consumers and raise prices.
Of course there is. That's what capitalists do. They look for, that's the definition of being a capitalist. You're looking for any and all absolute options and opportunities to increase your profit margins, right? And if you happen to be in a business that sells like basic needs for people, it's no different, right? So it actually works in your favor. People are going to buy eggs. People are going to buy gas. People have to get to work. People have to fucking eat. They have to. So they raise prices. They know you're going to pay it. You're going to have less money to go see the fucking John Wick movie. Facts.
Why produce more if you can make more money producing less?
You might be thinking, didn't you say that these big egg companies recently dropped their wholesale prices pretty significantly after all? So maybe there really was something exceptional going on behind the scenes that required some once-in-a-lifetime price increases? To be completely honest, we're also confused by the latest numbers. Angela, have you seen the drop in wholesale egg prices?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? Although prices are still a lot higher than they were last year.
But where did that drop come from and why now?
Well, we're not seeing any major changes in the market that would explain these lower prices, just like there wasn't a substantial...
I can explain it. Those higher prices and everybody complaining about it was untenable. They got in for the big hit and it stayed as long as they could. But when they lowered their prices again, but they didn't bring them back to the pre-inflationary numbers. They brought them down low enough to where you don't think about it and you don't talk about it anymore. In fact, you got these fucking liberals running around social media saying, see, egg prices are low again. See, gas prices are low again. Thanks, Joe Biden. But in reality, they artificially spiked them up, kept them high, just as long as they could, and then the prices come back down, but not to their old levels. And they've increased their profit margin, and now they're able to maintain for the long haul what is new baseline profit margin, which is going to be much higher, which are much higher prices for you. But I will promise you that as those margins and that price of eggs stays up here, they will do things down here, because this is what manufacturing does. They will do things down here that make themselves more efficient, all the while increasing the profit margin. Promise.
to justify the massive price increases that we talked about before. There isn't a sudden increase in egg supply to bring down the prices or anything like that to easily explain this.
So these companies drop their wholesale prices randomly?
Well, the USDA says that consumer demand for eggs is down a little bit due to resistance to the record high prices in grocery stores. In a recent report, the USDA actually pointed to the negative media attention on the issue of egg prices as a factor for why consumers are holding back.
Right.
It wouldn't be the first time that a corporation quickly lowered its prices after being called out for price gouging in the news. Anything to divert attention elsewhere, especially with Easter coming up.
Yeah, I forgot about Easter.
Well, the egg companies haven't. They're desperate to win back consumers in time for the holiday.
Just so they can increase prices again?
Well, an increase in prices is the normal response to Easter every year. That's to be expected. But we're keeping an eye on it because it shouldn't be used as an opportunity to price gouge. There seems to be a new normal price for eggs, and the reason for that isn't the flu or inflation or even a holiday, it's corporate greed. And what Cal Maine Foods and the other large egg companies did last year is extort billions of dollars from the pockets of American consumers by placing a tax on an essential good that everybody needs, plain and simple.
Is there anything that can be done to stop this from happening over and over again?
There is.
Yes.
We need to hold these companies accountable.
No.
We at Farm Action wrote a letter to the FTC calling on them to investigate these companies. They can prosecute any violations of our antitrust laws that they would find, and ultimately, they should get the American people their money back by seeking financial restitution for these abuses. Senator Jack Reed sent a letter to the FTC urging investigation.
This is all the garbage that they always talk about doing. None of that shit's going to happen. And even if it does, it stays in the fucking Congress and in legislation. And they talk about legislation and it's the same old bullshit. And all those fucking senators and Jack Reed, all of them, I promise you, maybe not Jack Reed, I don't fucking know. I'm speaking out of my ass a little bit. But they all receive fucking kickback. There's lobbyists. There's fucking farm lobbyists. There's Cal Maine has lobbyists. They pay the fucking politicians. Nothing's going to get done. As long as these capitalists and these corporations own the means of production, right? You don't own the means of production. As long as these people own the means of production, they are going to continue to do this. They've always done this. They always will do this. This is what they do. This is the game. This is the 20, 30, 40-year plan. At some point, you'll be paying $10 for a fucking dozen eggs. Promise.
And then Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative Katie Porter also sent letters to the top 5 egg producers in the U.S. asking for answers. Believe me, this isn't over until somebody investigates.
So there you have it. Not the most satisfying of stories yet. There's work to be done. Now, it's on the Federal Trade Commission to work in coordination with the Department of Justice and the USDA to crack down on corporations that use their monopoly power to price gouge the American people.
They won't do shit.
On behalf of all Americans writing their grocery lists and planning their Easters, it's time for some answers.
More Perfect Union, and lady, I don't know your name. Thank you for the very informative and wonderful video on all this. I really appreciate it, but at the end of the day, they're not going to do shit differently. They never fucking do, right? You're going to pay $10 for a dozen eggs.